All right, I've got handouts. Gordy's going to pass them around. It's just one page, front and back. So take one and pass it around. Okay, APRS. What is APRS? To me, APRS is ham radio where you don't have to be present to win. What do I mean by that? So you don't have to be present to win means it's a automatic operation. It's considered a beacon or a station that has no operator present, and that's allowed by the FCC. So the top line here on my handout is the presentation itself. So you just want to do a quick thing, just type that in on your computer at home, it'll bring the whole thing up. All right, so APRS was invented back in the mid-'80s, early '90s by Bob Bruninga, working at the Naval Academy, U.S. Navy Naval Academy, and he started on it on a Apple II, and gradually got up to a Commodore VIC-20, and then a IBM PC. It's continued to develop along the way, but if you hear what it stands for, you might hear Automatic Position Reporting System. And that's kind of true, but not really. It's Automatic Packet Reporting System. So back in the early days when Bob invented it, he did use it for tracking, and it was called Position Reporting System, but not anymore. So right here it says APRS is not a vehicle tracking system. It's a tactical communication system. So, and here's some other stuff about how it began and how to use it. This is a real handy beginner guide that you can look through, read it on your own. And here's an actual presentation about APRS done by somebody else. I'll just skip over that. And here's an animation of how it works. So we've got a car here with a APRS enabled radio in it. It transmits to a home fill-in station, and then that transmits to a digipeater over here, and then that digipeater transmits out to the other digipeaters, and that's the way the signal gets out. But it's limited by some parameters that get sent along with the packet, and then the parameters get decremented as they go, so it doesn't go across the entire world. It just goes only so far. So that's kind of cool. So this is my APRS base station. This is what it looks like. It's about the size of 2 decks of cards. And I ordered it from the guy in Poland that makes these. And it took several months to get here, go through customs and all that. It came in a brown paper cardboard box with no instructions, no packing list, nothing. So it sat on the shelf for quite a while until I figured out, okay, I need to put this thing together and make it work. So I had no cables for it, so I had to come up with cables and figure out how to make it work. The manual, I tried to download it, and it crashed my Adobe Reader. So anyway, I finally got that downloaded and printed out. So anyway, this is what it looks like. Okay, so here it is at my house, and on the bottom I have, here's the WX 3-in-1 Plus at the top. Here's a standard Ethernet switch, and here's my Kenwood TM281A radio. And instead of the microphone down here, it's got a cable that goes around to the back side and plugs into the WX 3-in-1 Plus. So it's called a WX 3-in-1 Plus because it does weather, and it's an iGate, and it's a digipeater. So when it gets a signal, which is what's happening here, you see this? That means that it's receiving a radio signal here, and you can see it down here in the radio too. And this light here says it's a packet. So what happens when it receives it, well, I'll go to the back view here. Here's the back view. Here's the radio on the bottom, the Ethernet switch, and the cables that come into it from the radio. And it's got serial ports that go to other devices. So my other device is a weather station that I got off the internet, off eBay for, it's a LaCrosse, it's an old one that has an RS-232 connection. Can't find those anymore. And it also has a thermometer probe here with these 3 wires here. Interesting thing, this red wire came loose the other day and I was getting reports that my house was 185 degrees. So, fix that.
It's dry.
Yeah. So here it is, it's received the packet and now it's lit up the radio transmit light. So, and down here you can see it actually is transmitting on the radio. So what happens when it receives a packet, it repeats it out over RF and it also sends it out over the internet. So here's some stats from my base station. These are live. These are, so earlier today, we had band conditions that were pretty poor, and this was down to 7% over here, the RF decoding efficiency. Now it's up to 67%. So when I first got this, it was running around, I don't know, 20% or something. I thought it was broken, it didn't work. But it's just band conditions, and sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad. So these are all the stats of number of packets received and sent out. It can also connect to Weather Underground. So I don't know if you know what Weather Underground is. You can buy a weather station and have it connected to the internet and send it to Weather Underground, and those stations all connect and you can see what the weather conditions are in any part of the country basically that has a weather station. But this can operate that way as well.
Wasn't the Weather Underground Abby Hoffman's outfit?
Yeah.
Different one. Okay, this is live again. This is stations that my base station has heard, and you can click on the headers here and it'll sort. So you can see my station was reflected and it's heard it in the last 0 minute. And these other stations are kind of recent, but if band conditions are good, these numbers will be all single digits here. And so band conditions aren't that great. We're getting some big delays there. And so I can check the distance here. And the farthest away one that is in the list right now is 575 kilometers, about 360 miles or so. So those are live stats that are happening right now from my house. So APRS maps. One of the things you can do with APRS is bring up maps that show what's happening. So this is APRS.FI, and here's my station right here. The symbol that's shown right there right now is the weather station symbol. Okay, that'll change when it does the next transmission. But you can find out about each of the stations there, and you can bring this map out. There's a lot of other things you can do with this. Let me bring it back in here. Yeah, see it's changed to a letter S and a green star. So that means it's a digipeater. So I can click on info and I can see all the stats about my station. I can see stations that have heard me, and then down here is stations that I've heard. Okay, listed on the web. All right, here's another interesting map. This is menolink.org. And this is a map of the US, and it will show you propagation of APRS signals. And typically we don't get very good propagation around the Chicago area, but once in a while we do. But the neat thing about this is you can click on one of these areas and you can see the station that these are the stations that are receiving the signal and where they're receiving it from. So it kind of draws a map of the lobes around there, and you can see what's happening. The other day we had some activity around here in Chicago, but it doesn't happen real frequently. I'm not quite sure why it's always up around the northern Minnesota, Wisconsin area and not so much down around here. Maybe we have too much interference, I don't know. So here's another map. This is APRS Direct. And this one is real-time, showing you real-time what's happening with each of these stations. There we go. So whenever one of these stations transmits and it gets detected, it'll show a symbol that shows it radiating out. And if it connects to another station, it'll have a line going to that station. I don't see any of that happening right now, but kind of neat to watch. There's one right there that showed it transmitting. Okay, and if you don't know what the symbols are, there's a complete list of symbols here at APRS Direct. There's thousands of them. So, and FindU is another mapping website. So this one, you can do things where you can, it'll show you your station and other stations around you. And you can see what the raw data coming out of your station is. This is the actual raw data that's in the packets that are getting sent out. And this is my station, but you can put any call letters in there you want. And here's messages. You can do that and FindU. So I sent messages out earlier this evening from my handy talkie. And it says that there's an FRL meeting, 7:30 tonight, Bethany Lutheran. Did anybody get that? Anybody listening to APRS? Apparently not. Okay. But that does work. And here's another map on APRS, or on FindU. This is the weather radar map that you can bring up just right from FindU. And it's got your APRS stations on here as well. So here's some other ways to do APRS. You can send email. Here's the way to do it. This is how to do it with a Kenwood D72. You can send SMS messages to cell phones, and you can use your cell phone to send an SMS message to your handy talkie. So I've done that and it works. So here's another neat feature you can use with the APRS. It's called Voice Alert. So the way it works is you can program the frequency 144.390 into your radio, but then also program a PL of 100, and other amateurs, this is a standard across the country. So as you're traveling, you won't hear the constant bursts of data coming out of your radio if you have that PL set. But if you hear somebody talking to you that has APRS Voice Alert set, you will hear them, and you can switch. You can then start a conversation and switch to a different frequency to talk to them on. So it's like a radar for other hams that are driving around and have that feature enabled. and APRS messaging. That FRL meeting was basically an APRS message. So that's something you can do. You can do messages direct from ham to ham, or you can do ham to all, or whatever you want. Okay, so here's some other APRS apps. Pinpoint APRS is a program that runs on Windows that connects to your radio or connects to your TNC that connects to your radio, and then it maps the data that it's receiving. So I've tried this and it works okay with my WX3N1 Plus over Ethernet, but you can also do it via other connection means. And you can use APRS on a cell phone with an app called APRS Droid. So that uses your GPS in your cell phone, and it will send out APRS beacons, and it sends them out over the internet, but it does the same kind of functionality. And here's another app called Yak, which I haven't tried yet, but I've heard good reviews on it. It's kind of the same sort of thing as Pinpoint. So that's something I need to try yet. And this is not an app, but this is part of Find You. And I put it under apps because there it is. That's my home station. So you could have that running on your computer or something and have it by your bed or something, I guess.
That's your weather station from home?
That's my weather station from home. So here's some more info about APRS. Find You has a lot of good information that you can, background information you can read. And there's a Facebook group, Ham APRS. You can post questions there and get answers on what your problems are. Although I posted questions about the WX3N1 Plus and not too many people know about it. So mainly I've been answering questions about it. And then here's the Wikipedia article, and here's a blog at aprs.fi. That has a lot of good information too. Here's how APRS paths work. You saw that in that GIF animated demo there, but this is a good explanation of actually how it works. And then here's some YouTube videos. I'm not going to play them, but you can play them on your own when you get back home. This is how to do email on an FT2DR. And KB9VBR has a lot of good YouTube videos. How many of you heard of KB9VBR? Yeah. So he's got some good videos, and here's one on intro to APRS, and then here's one on intro to the APRS on the 400 XDR, which I have, and then the advanced features. And I was parked over in the Goodwill parking lot, and this popped up on my screen. So he was up in Milwaukee at the Hamfest, and or I think it was near Milwaukee. I don't know exactly where, but it popped up on my screen, and I took a picture of it. I sent him a message saying that I got it. So that was pretty cool. And then APRS from space. So here's a tracking website that shows where the International Space Station is and the Hubble telescope. And you can actually get APRS messages and beacons from them, and you can send your messages up to the International Space Station and have them digipeated back to Earth. So that's pretty cool. And this was on my display when I got back in the car. I had set it up to listen to 145.825, which is the International Space Station APRS frequency. And I left it sit there for half a day, and it came back, and voila, I received this from the International Space Station. This is this guy's email address. So, and then AMSAT is the Indian satellites, and I've also received beacons from them. And here it is. So I've received quite a few of those, actually. So,
This is clean paper, right?
yes.
Okay.
So, that's really the end of my talk, but I have some more pictures that, if you're interested, I'll show those. There's only about 10 or so. Oops. Oops, wrong address. Okay. So here's what it looks like when I receive a weather station beacon from my home station. Shows me the temperature and wind direction. But this screen actually has three screens. You have to scroll down to get the rest of the information. So here's the next one. By scrolling down, wind speed, gust wind speed, and humidity. And the third one is just some more information, latitude, longitude, and just a short message at the end. And then here's a message that I send out all the time. It tells where the FRL repeater is, what frequency, what offset, and what tone, 103.5, and when the net is, Tuesday at 7:30, and it also tells the temperature. So here's another one that I send out all the time, and it's the Kane County Areas repeater. Tells the frequency, the updated frequency, 444.525, plus offset and CTSS 114.8, and tells when the net is for that. I also put up when the Hamfest was, but that I didn't capture that. So here's a iGate up in Rockford. Here's Stevens Point, Wisconsin. This is all from my car. So this is somebody advertising their ClayCountyRadioWebs.com. And here's a this is up in Marquette, Michigan. So, and this is a digipeat off the International Space Station. The guy says, "Greetings, Earthlings." So, and here's the guy advertising his Echolink. So, normally you would have your call sign here, but he's put his Echolink node in there. But you also notice it's got his call sign here as well, and it's embedded in the message as well. So if you have your call sign anywhere, you're okay. So here's oh, this is also via satellite using an FTM 400. And this one I receive all the time. KE9, QPN, and Sandwich. So if you have your radio on and you have it listening to APRS, you'll see that quite frequently. So here's a guy using Voice Alert. So see, he's got PL100 set, and so you can contact him by just transmitting voice on your radio on the APRS frequency 144.39, and he should hear it. So, and then you can set up a conversation. That's it. So, any questions? Yeah.
So when you talk to the space station, are you doing it through somebody else's radio, or are you doing it directly from your radio?
Directly from my radio.
What kind of antenna do you use?
I have a Diamond SG 7900A.
Vertical, horizontal?
Vertical.
Vertical.
Mag mount on top of the car.
So you're able to hit the repeater, hit the space station with
Yeah.
just that,
Yeah.
You're receiving it from the space station.
Right.
and transmitting.
Well, I've tried transmitting, but I don't know if anybody's receiving it or not.
Oh, but so then you get back into the digipeater network or the
Yeah.
APRS, and you can send packets through somebody else who can transmit.
Right. Right.
So when they send you a message from the space station, it's where they actually are. Is there a position?
Well, you can see where the position is because
On the
it's,
map.
it's got the time stamp there and you can see where it was at that time.
Okay.
So typically it would be overhead. So,
Yep.
any other questions? So, yeah, like I said, it's ham radio where you don't have to be present to win. So you could just let it run, you can see the results, and you can interact with it if you want to. So it's fun.
One question.
Yeah,
On the, you showed a picture of one message from somebody that was in Wisconsin.
yeah, Stevens Point.
Yeah, how do you know that it's not a digipeater, the one that has actually relayed that message to you?
I don't know.
And how do you know that it's actually a direct contact from that station to your station?
That's a good question.
Because 535 miles,
It'd be in the string.
Yeah,
or I don't know.
Wouldn't that be enough to pad the string with a pad?
yeah, typically
Pad.
the path is set so that you don't have digipeters transmitting all across the country. So they digipete like the maximum of 2 digipeters. So that's
And it
how,
goes on the internet.
what goes on the internet all the time anyway, no matter what. So,
Somewhere.
yeah.
At some point, probably.
Okay,